Hey everyone in the MagMod community, thanks so much for joining us this week. This week I get to interview the incredible Hiram Trillo. He's not only a wedding photographer, but he does a lot of fashion, so you're in for a good show. Hey Hiram, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I appreciate you saying it again because we did this, I want to say, gosh, it's been like 2 years maybe or so, right?
It's been it's probably close to 2 years. Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while, but I, as I always say, I learned so much from every single time I do these interviews, and I feel like everyone's in for a real treat. I always get a little sneak preview at some of the photos that we're going to talk about. You guys you send them over to me, and I'm just always amazed by them. And there's some shots in here that just blow my mind, so I'm excited to show everyone. Before we do that, I want to just mention your website so people can actually go check you out and follow you and give you some love there. So your website's hiramtrillo.com.
Yep.
And then your Instagram is at hiramtrillo.com. Or excuse me, at Hiram Trillo, right?
Yep.
Fantastic. You're based out of Dallas, Fort Worth? Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
Excellent.
Good old Fort Worth.
That's right. You're wearing it right there. I love it. So for those who don't know Hiram, or as our Latin friends like to say, Edom, Hiram is an incredible photographer, not only a wedding photographer, but also you've expanded into lots of other types of photography, fashion, things like that. And I want to talk about that. But before we do, I just got to mention, Hiram, I think you are probably one of the first MagMod users, power users. I'm not sure what the right word is, but you've been with MagMod for a long time.
Yeah. I was lucky enough that I stumbled across the Kickstarter. When I was in like the first 10 people that from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I've been a fan and a user since then.
I love it. But I think what's important to tell people is even though you've been with MagMod for a long time, it's not that you deny other lighting modifiers. In other words, when you need a larger light to use a larger light, when you need the smaller light or the gels. I think one of the things that really I love about your work is how you combine different lighting sources. And MagMod sometimes plays the primary role and sometimes it plays the complementary role.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I think that a lot of people think, and when they see a lot of my images, they're like, oh, well, you use MagMod. Like, yeah, I mean, I use MagMod, but sometimes it's not my primary light. Mm-hmm. There's so many things, especially when you're shooting not only weddings, but when you're shooting, fashion or editorial stuff, or even when you do like PJ stuff. You can use it as an accent more than a primary light. It's knowing when to. I mean, light is light, and it's knowing when to use it and how to use it that differentiates what it's going to be. So,
I love it. I also think it's important. Hiram is sometimes as wedding photographers we get in that niche and then we don't do anything else. And I know at WPPI you were one of the speakers and you had a fabulous class about kind of being willing to expand and try different genres, try different things that they all kind of go together. Like if I'm shooting fashion, I can apply some of those same techniques and into weddings or vice versa, right?
Yeah. So I think it's very important for us that we don't get stuck. And I speak that from me. That there was many times where it's like, well, I'm a wedding photographer. I mean, you're a photographer,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, that there are different ways, like, of course, I couldn't go and do like still lives or stuff like that. That's very different. But when it comes to like the human elements, there's things that I take from my fashion experience into weddings and stuff that I've done in weddings that I take into the fashion, world.
That's awesome. That's really good information. I hope people can listen to that and take that and basically say, hey, you know what? I'm going to try some different things. Also, I think it just helps with creativity wise. It just kind of opens your mind. It gives you a little fresh shoot, something to try, something different. That being said, let's jump into one of these photographs. We talked a little bit about how you shoot both fashion and weddings. And so I want to actually talk about one of the fashion photos first. And I want to talk about actually how MagMod was just playing a complementary role in this photograph. Can you tell us a little bit about this photograph, kind of what was going through your mind and how you set it up?
Yeah, absolutely. So this one was, this had actually, when we first originally shot this, had nothing to do with Louis Vuitton. This was actually for a designer that she does amazing work, with saris and Southeast Asian weddings. Like her stuff is absolutely beautiful. And we also had a jeweler that helped us out with a lot of the stuff. Now, when you have multiple vendors, come in. You want to make sure that you don't just enhance, one area, but make the outfit become the central piece, and the accessories as well, because you don't want to leave anybody out. And then secondly, that the same boutique that we were at, they're a Louis Vuitton dealer, and so we had some Louis Vuitton reps on there that brought some of the newer luggage, and this went from being just this shoe to eventually Louis Vuitton actually picking this, for one of their social media ads.
That's rad.
But yeah, so on this one, we built a set of kind of how what we wanted. Again, one of my set designers, he's an amazing with his Ralph factor, and he does a ton of Indian weddings and decor. So they came in. We had I had the vision, and when I say we, you're going to hear me say we a lot, and that's because it's a team. It's not just me. There's a lot of us that put this together. I have something, but without them, I could have never ever done any other stuff. So I had, when I had the idea, I gave it to them, and they just made it a reality. They created the set, background and all that stuff. So the one thing that's going to separate, obviously the subject from the background is going to be light. That's how you're going to create, the ambiance and everything. So on this one, the main light is actually an octobox. It's a 48-inch octobox that I have. And then I use MagMod actually to bring in light over to where the bags were at, because since the light is going to be right, camera right, and right off of the frame, then obviously that foot we lost it because it was in the shade, from the light that was coming. So I actually used 2 speed lights with grids. One aimed over at where the foot was at with the bag, and then the other one at the bag that was below.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I used right above her head, pointing towards the back, was a third speed light with a mag sphere with just enough pop to bring out some of the white on the flowers in the back and some of that blush.
I love that, Hiram, and I love how you just say just enough, because I think one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of photographers are making when they're trying to use flash is they'll put their flashes on ETTL or whatever, and they'll put way too much power on the scene, way too much light on the scene, and a lot of times it's just you just need that subtle touch of light, and so often it's more dialing it back than it is dialing it up.
Yeah, and we all make that mistake. A lot of the times, we think that more is better and stuff. When, in fact, it took me a long time. I just figured, flash needs to look like flash, and it doesn't necessarily.
That's awesome. So Hiram, let's jump over to this photo of Frida. It's a photo. We have Frida, or I'm going to bring it up on the screen here. Basically, we have the background. It looks like some red gels were used. Tell us a little bit about that lighting setup.
Yeah, so this one was, again, it was a quick editorial that we did for a local boutique here, that, again, we came together, they laid out everything that we were going to photograph, and the first thing that came to mind when I started this was Frida. I've been a huge fan of Frida. I know that the boutique owner also, because she has Frida posters all over that boutique. So I was like, why don't we do something like that? So, but I wanted to modernize it. I didn't want to, if you go to Pinterest and you put Frida, it's all over the place. I mean, it's the same stuff. So what you want to do is you want to differentiate, from what's currently out there to give in something, and how are you going to still keep, and when somebody sees that, like, oh, it has the Frida influence, but still modernize it a little bit more. So that's what we did. With wardrobe, I can't take any credit for the wardrobe stuff. Those were the rest of the crew. And the only thing that I can take, credit for is basically, setting it up and lighting and stuff like that. So yeah, so on this one's actually that we did. The main light obviously is camera right, and then using gels on the left, just to cut away from and give that separation. Although it's red, it's a much lighter red.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that automatically separates her from that background.
I love it. And then what was your main light? Do you remember what your main light was?
Yeah, so the main light on this one is actually a combination that I use, which is a beauty dish. It's a combination that I've been using actually for a couple of years now, and it was kind of an accident. But it's a beauty dish, and on the inside of the beauty dish, I'm actually using the sphere. And when I started playing around with that, I love the light that it gave me.
Mm-hmm.
This is as specular as a regular beauty dish, but it did soften it a little bit, and the fall off just became beautiful.
Hey, since we're talking about that, I know there's a couple other images where you use the beauty dish MagSphere combo. There's one here, Frida, where it's black and white. That was the beauty dish MagSphere combo. Is that right?
Yeah.
And that was just one light? Just that combo?
Yeah, that's it. It's just one light. Pulled her. We did one, with a sink wall.
Yeah.
And pull her away a little bit. And the biggest thing was obviously the way I shot it, which is cropped, hid her shadow.
Yeah.
But remember, guys, I mean, the higher you put that light,
yep.
I was like, the lower the shadow is going to be.
Exactly.
So, if you want a shadow on there, fantastic. On this one, in these types of shots, they distract. If there was a shadow coming on the back, and we don't want to do that. So, I just raised it up a little bit, turned it and kind of 45 degree it, and you're set.
Yeah. What's also cool is when you take a white cyc wall like that and you pull them out a little ways and you get that whole, I mean, we won't go into inverse square law today, but using that inverse square law, now you can turn that white wall more of a gray tone. It actually reminds me a lot of the photos you see like at Forever 21, or some of the stores, the retail stores where they have the models. Really, I love it. Nice shot. So, and then you had one more here. You also on this one used the Beauty Dish MagSphere combo. Is that right?
Yeah, there's a MagSphere and then
just the MagSphere.
Gel on the back. This one is, and you can see it, I like doing this sometimes where you can kind of see where the light source is at. Just kind of, it adds something to it. And it doesn't become distracting because there's still so much more going on over here.
Yeah.
And then the one thing, if you're ever going to do anything, I'm not a smoker, but anytime that we do any shoots with smoke and stuff like that, like cigarette smoke, it's terrible to photograph. Mm-hmm. It's not, like in the films where you see it where tons of it comes out. It's very little. That's actually not cigarette smoke. That's actually that ambient spray.
Oh, atmosphere aerosol.
Yeah, aerosol, yeah. The aerosol stuff, and that's kind of it gives it. So make sure that anytime that you think you're gonna do anything like that with cigarettes or whatever, somebody told me, I haven't tried it yet, but the vapes or whatever,
yeah,
apparently those are good. Those were good, but I haven't tried it. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
But I have, this was the aerosol one, and it worked perfect. Little goes a long way.
Love it.
In those situations.
Yeah, especially when you're indoors. When you're outdoors and you get a little bit of wind, then typically it carries. Now, I will just remind everybody, we're talking about cigarettes and we're talking about the atmosphere aerosol. Don't mix atmosphere aerosol with flames, with any kind of open flame.
Yeah.
I certainly don't want anyone to.
Yeah, the cigarette wasn't wasn't on this one again.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's a great image. You know what I love about this one, Hiram, is it very similar to the one with the red gel. You have the pink gel that kind of matches that, complements that background. It almost feels like, and this is kind of what I'm gathering from the image. It almost feels like the light is bouncing off these backgrounds and then illuminating them with the color that it's absorbing from the background. Like that's what it feels to me. Like the light's hitting the pink and then bouncing back to her, pink color, or hitting the red and bouncing back to her red, which I've never really considered in my work. I've never thought about it. I'm going to have to look at doing more of that. I love how you do that. So
Thank you. Yeah, and on that one is you pick a color, a color that's throughout the, so so we had the parachute, the pink parachute in the back. She's got pink
Mm-hmm.
on her shirt. She had the flowers that had some blush on there. So pink is throughout the whole thing. So you want to get it. It would have looked completely different if you'd gotten like a blue and thrown that on there.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of the times we make that mistake, that we want to create a separation, but then it just kind of becomes more of a distraction.
What a great tip. It's so important to go back and look at the masters that have been around and pick up little things from them. Let's go to this photograph. You have a wedding photograph where you have a bride and she has her hands out and she has her rings that she's holding. I think this is the perfect example of using just a touch of light to really draw accent to something. Can you tell us about this photograph?
Yeah, so this is actually one of my favorite photographs, just because it was so impromptu.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of the things. One thing that I have is I hate shooting details. I hate shooting details just for the mere fact that I just think they're so cold.
Mm-hmm.
So I made kind of and I'm not very good at them. I'm not. That's mainly the reason why I hate shooting them, because I'm not good at shooting details.
Yeah.
There's I have colleagues and friends of mine that are absolutely amazing at shooting details. I'm not one of them. So what I started doing was actually making sure that all of my details had a human element in it, because that's what that's what not necessarily I can say that I'm good at.
It's your strength.
To be able to capture more of the human element and stuff. So I started doing that with my details, and this was a ring shot. And one of the things that I wanted was, although you can see both rings, the top ring was actually very special because it was custom made by the groom, but it was custom made using her grandmother's old ring. So they basically melted it and then designed it and then created this ring. So it was very, very important on both sides. Him, because he was creative enough, to make a custom ring for her, but then, it was, emotional just because of where it came from. So that was where I wanted to concentrate. I wanted to show both of them, but the top one, her ring was the main one. So I used the snoot. I wanted to still be able to see, some of the Mendy henna on the hands, but I didn't want that to distract. So basically, what I did was I put a flash behind, her hands with the grid.
Yeah.
So it focused the light right to where I wanted it, and then I put a snoot right above, and then just focus a beam of light right to where the ring would be. And then this kind of came out with all the little jewels and all the the decor and the red that everything that was going around. It just it came out kind of to what I was envisioning. But again, the shooting through the hands and all that stuff kind of gave you that nice, beautiful, warm red tint.
I love it. The more I look at the image, the more I see things that really stand out that make me like, wow, that's incredible. Can you tell us about this last shot? This it's a wedding shot with the stars behind the couple.
Yeah. This one's a fun one. We're doing it outside of Houston, and this actually a triple exposure image. And then in post production, I went in there and took out all of the distractions. But yeah, it's a three light setup, two on the sides with grids pointing directly kind of towards them, and then one with the sphere from above. And then the line that you see, the light painting on the side, is just me running around with my iPhone. And then in post production, I went in there and took out the my right hand guy. My second shooter holding the light,
holding the sphere.
Yeah, and then from the stars from some of the darker areas went in there and took those out.
Yeah, love it, man. It's fantastic. Hiram, dude, you've given us so much good information. It's been what a pleasure it has been to talk to you. Check out Hiram's work again, hiramtrillo.com and at Hiram Trillo, right? Mm-hmm. So make sure to go check his work out. Hiram, you're amazing. Appreciate you, brother.
You're way too kind, man. Way too kind.
Thank you so much, and thanks for being on the show. And I know that's, again, yet another show that we've all been able to learn from. So thank you again.
All right. Thank you, guys. You guys have a good one, man.
All right. Take care, Hiram.